And pause. What you are seeing now is about to be the final out of the second most watched World Series of all time, and the most watched World Series game of all time. But unless you're from there and remember it, you probably couldn't tell me who was in this World Series, or even who won. Why is a game that is statistically one of the most viewed games of all time in a series that is statistically one of the most watched all time so forgotten? It was by no means boring or lacking in entertainment. In fact, every single game was within 3 or fewer runs. So that begs the question, why is the 1980 World Series so forgotten? The 1980 World Series matched up the 91-win Philadelphia Phillies against the 97-win Kansas City Royals. But before we head straight into the series itself, it may be worth looking at each of their respective seasons up to this point.
The good old Philadelphia Phillies of Philadelphia, one of the original MLB franchises founded in 1883, were burdened with an unnamed curse. Let's call it the cheesesteak curse because they hadn't won a World Series while in existence, but with eventual Hall of Famers Mike Schmidt and Steve Carlton, the Phillies managed to just barely edge out the Montreal Expos for the NL East title and beat the Houston Astros in the NLCS 3-2, earning a spot in the Fall Classic. Just a side note, this championship series was the only instance where two teams played each other in a championship series, and then went on to face each other in a future World Series. Meanwhile, the opposite happened in 1982, where the Cardinals faced the Brewers in the World Series and would go on to play each other in the 2011 NLCS. Over in good old Kansas City, you guessed it, Missouri, the Royals, founded in 1969, were coming off a couple of seasons where nothing could seem to go their way in the playoffs, after, like all expansion teams in any sport, unless you're the Vegas Golden Knights, being absolutely mediocre for 5 seasons. After losing 3 straight ALCSs to the Yankees, things were different in 1980. With MVP and future Hall of Famer George Brett on their side, the Royals steamrolled the AL West, beating the second-place A's by 14 games. In the ALCS, the Royals decided to take a page out of the Die Hard playbook and come back with a vengeance, sweeping the Yankees 3-0.
And we've made it! Welcome to Game 1 of the 1980 World Series. It is Tuesday, October 14th. We are at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The crowd of 65,791 Philadelphians were ready to see the team's first World Series win since Hall of Famer Grover Cleveland Alexander, which is an anagram for Alexander Clanged Revolver, pitched a complete game in Game 1 of the 1915 World Series, beating Boston 3-1. The starting pitcher for Philadelphia was one Bob Walk, who, as the name implies, walked 74 batters in the 1980 season and 3 in this game. Matching up against him was Dennis Leonard, a man with 2 first names. The game itself was actually pretty entertaining, Kansas City putting up 2 runs in both the second and third innings, before the Phillies offense decided to wake up and score 5 runs in the bottom of the third, making the game 5-4. Heading into the top of the 8th, the Phillies were now up 7-4, but then surrendered 2 runs, cutting the lead to 7-6. Thankfully, closer Tug McGraw for the Phils came in and went 3 up and 3 down, securing the victory. And in case you were wondering, yes, Tug McGraw is the father of country music star Tim McGraw, and even Tim didn't know this until his later teens. Fun fact about this game, Bob Walk became only the 3rd rookie ever to start Game 1 of the World Series, the first to do so since Joe Black of the Dodgers in 1952. Another famous thing to happen on this day, noted Bear voicer Ben Whishaw is born in the UK and will go on to voice 2 of the 4 talking bear comedies of the 2010s. Hola y bienvenidos al Juego 2 del World Series 1980. We're in the same place at the same time, minus 10 minutes, 1 day later. This game was a game of names, a name game if you will, a moniker match even, as some of each team's most finely named players showed out on this day. You got guys like Amos Otis, Dan Quisenberry, which is an anagram for Brandon Esquire, Bob Boone, Del Unser, Ron Reed, Greg Gross, and my personal favorite, Bake McBride. This game was a pitcher's duel until the 5th inning, when Royals pitcher Larry Gura surrendered 2 runs. Kansas City clawed back with 1 in the 6th and 3 in the 7th, until the aforementioned Brandon Esquire coughed up 4 runs in the bottom of the 8th to give the Phillies a 6-4 lead, which they would hang on to win this game. The Phillies are now up 2-0, ready to head back to Kansas City, but wait a minute, is that the foreign substance alarm? Quick, Batman, to the replay mobile!
Yeah, Batman. It appears that Royals manager Jim Frey has a bone to pick with Phillies pitcher Steve Carlton. As you can see here, the home plate umpire Bill Kunkel is about to give Steve Carlton the old what for regarding the loss of control of his recent pitches. This resulted in Carlton being forced to wash his hands. Game 3. Kansas City, Missouri, not Kauffman Stadium, Friday, October 17th, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 1980. After being out for minor surgery during Game 2, future Hall of Famer George Brett, that's my name, came back with a vengeance by hitting a solo home run off of Dick Ruthven, which is an anagram for Thick Verdun, in the bottom of the first inning to put the Royals on top early. However, this run was quickly matched in the very next inning after the Phillies loaded the bases and managed to score off an RBI fielder's choice. This series of events repeated itself in the 4th and 5th innings, where Kansas City would put up 1 run and the Phillies would immediately match it the next. This happened one more time in the 7th and 8th to leave the game tied at 3, heading into extra innings. After the Phillies put up a big goose egg at the top of the 10th, this put the Royals in the perfect position to walk it off, and that they did, with Willie Aikens driving in Willie Wilson to give Kansas City their first win of the series. Game 4, Saturday, October 18th, 12:45 p.m. Central Standard Time, 1980. The Royals literally came out swinging, scoring 4 runs in the first inning, including a Willie Wilson double, George Brett triple, and Willie Aikens 2-run homer, knocking out Phillies starting pitcher Larry Christensen after just 1/3 of an inning. Ouch. Heading into the 7th, the Royals were up 5-1, but the Phillies got a run in the 7th and a run in the 8th, before being shut down by Quisenberry in the 9th to tie the series 2-2. This game is best remembered for Dickie Ray Knowles, which is an anagram for calorie kidneys, pitching a high brushback pitch right under George Brett's chin, prompting the umpire to give warnings to both sides, thus completing the greatest brushback pitch in World Series history and traumatizing George Brett's chin in the process. Game 5, Sunday, October 19th, 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 1980. In a stark contrast with the previous game, the bats were quiet for the first 3 innings. That changed in the top of the 4th with Mike Schmidt blasting a 2-run homer to break the silence. The Royals clapped back in the 5th and 6th, scoring a combined 3 runs to put KC on top. Neither team would score again until the top of the 9th, where a bit of small ball combined with a double by pinch hitter Del Unser led the Phillies to a 4-3 victory, putting them ahead in the series 3-2. Side note, former Pirates manager Clint Hurdle got a single in the 6th before leading the Pirates to a grand total of 3 playoff game wins in 9 seasons. Good job, Clint. Other side note, the Royals had a pinch runner named Onyx Concepcion, which is an anagram for Coco Cox 9-pin. Very classy.
In what would become the final game of the series, we find ourselves back in the city where clouds apparently don't exist for Game 6, happening on noted lawyer Kim Kardashian's birthday at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Steve Carlton started for the Phillies, tossing 7+ scoreless innings. Philadelphia scored 2 in the 3rd and 1 in the 5th and 6th respectively. When Carlton was finished on the mound, he was replaced by country music star progenitor Tug McGraw, who gave up 1 run in the 8th before sealing the deal and giving Philadelphia its first championship ever. Mike Schmidt was awarded the MVP, while Tug McGraw was awarded the Babe Ruth Award, which is basically another MVP. Fun fact about this game, Royals outfielder Willie Wilson struck out a World Series record of 12 times over the 6 games, breaking the previously held record of 11. This record stood, ironically, until Phillies player Ryan Howard struck out 13 times in 6 games in the 2009 World Series. Fun fact times 2, you know that fun moment when the catcher rushes the mound and jumps on the pitcher to celebrate the win? Yeah, that almost didn't happen, as it was said that catcher Bob Boone's knees were so sore he nearly didn't make it all the way to the mound. In the immediate aftermath, Pennsylvania Governor Dick Thornburgh, which is an anagram for Broach Drug Think, declared the next day Philadelphia Phillies Day across the state, losing several Pittsburgh voters in the process. Nice going, Dick. I bet that holiday will last a long time. In all fairness, though, Philadelphia deserved this, as each of their 4 professional sports teams played in their respective championships that year, with only the Phillies being victorious. And there you have it. That was the 1980 World Series. The second most watched series of all time, with Game 6 being the most watched televised game of all time. A series filled with fun moments, foreign substances, allegedly, and some truly funny anagrams, and yet no one outside of Philly can seem to remember what happened here. Hopefully we've done our part to inform the masses on a fairly average World Series. Tune in next time when we cover one of the hopefully better series of our time, the 1994 Fall Classic, coming soon to a baseball park near you.